Shalom. Welcome back to the Cepher Readings, Genesis, Bere'shiyth, chapter 38. And it came to pass at that time that Yehudah went down from his brethren and turned into a certain Adullamite, whose name was Tehilliym. And Yehudah saw there a daughter of a certain Canaanite, whose name was Shuach. And he took her and went in unto her. And she conceived and bore a son, and he called his name And she conceived again and bore a son, and she called his name Onan. And she yet again conceived and bore a son, and called his name Shelach. And he was at Kisiv when she bore him. And Yehudah took a woman for his firstborn, whose name was Tamar. And Yehudah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of Yahuwah. And Yahuwah slew him. And Yehudah said unto Onan, Go in unto your brother's woman, and marry her, and raise up seed to your brother. And Onan knew that the seed should not be his. And it came to pass, when he went in unto his brother's woman, that he spilled it on the ground, lest that he should give seed to his brother. And the thing which he did displeased Yahuwah, wherefore he slew him also. Then Yehudah to Tamar his daughter-in-law, Then said Yehudah to Tamar his daughter-in-law, Remain a widow at your father's house, till Shelach my son be grown. For he said, Lest perchance he dies also, as his brethren did. And Tamar went and dwelt in her father's house. And in process of time, the daughter of Shuach, Yehudah's woman, died. And Yehudah was comforted, and went up unto his sheep shearers to Timnathah, he and his friend Hira the Adullamite. And it was told Tamar, saying, Behold, your father-in-law goes up to Timnah to shear his sheep. And she put her widow's garments off from her, and covered her with a veil, and wrapped herself, and sat in an open place, which is by the way to Timnah. For she saw that Shelach was grown, and she was not given unto him to be his woman. When Yehudah saw her, he thought her to be a harlot, because she had covered her face. And he turned unto her by the way, and said, Go, I pray you, let me come in unto you. For he knew not that she was his daughter-in-law. And she said, What will you give me, that you may come in unto me? And he said, I will send you a kid from the flock. And she said, Will you give me a pledge till you send it? And he said, What pledge shall I give you? And she said, Your signet, and your bracelets, and your staff that is in your hand. And he gave it to her, and came in unto her, and she conceived by him. And she arose and went away, and laid by her veil from her, and put on the garments of her widowhood. And Yehudah sent the kid by the hand of his friend the Adullamite, to receive his pledge from the woman's hand. But he found her not. Then he asked the men of that place, saying, Where is the harlot, who was openly by the wayside? And they said, There was no harlot in this place. And he returned to Yehudah and said, I cannot find her. And also the men of the place said that there was no harlot in this place. And Yehudah said, Let her take it to her, lest we be shamed. Behold, I sent this kid, and you have not found her. And it came to pass about 3 months after, that it was told Yehudah, saying, Tamar, your daughter-in-law, has played the harlot, and also, behold, she is with child by whoredom. And Yehudah said, Bring her forth, and let her be burnt. When she was brought forth, she sent to her father-in-law, saying, By the man whose these are, am I with child? And she said, Discern, I pray you, whose are these, the signet, and the bracelets, and staff? And Yahudah acknowledged them and said, She has been more righteous than I, because that I gave her not to Shelach my son, and he knew her again no more. And it came to pass in the time of her travail, that, behold, twins were in her womb. And it came to pass, when she travailed, that the one put out his hand, and the midwife took and bound upon his hand a scarlet thread, saying, This came out first. And it came to pass, as he drew back his hand, that, behold, his brother came out. And she said, How have you broken forth? This breach be upon you. Therefore his name was called Peretz. And afterward came out his brother, who had the scarlet thread upon his hand, and his name was called Zerach. Chapter 39. And Yosef was brought down to Mitzrayim, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, a Mitzri, bought him of the hands of the Yishmaelim, which had brought him down thither. And Yahuwah was with Yosef, and he was a prosperous man, and he was in the house of his Adonai, the Mitzri. And his Adonai saw that Yahuwah was with him, and that Yahuwah made all that he did to prosper in his hand. And Yosef found grace in his sight. And he served him, and he made him overseer over his house, and all that he had he put into his hand. And it came to pass from the time that he had made him overseer in his house, and over all that he had, that Yahuwah blessed the Mitzri's house for Yosef's sake. And the blessing of Yahuwah was upon all that he had in the house, and in the field. And he left all that he had in Yosef's hand, and he knew not what he had, save the bread which he did eat. And Yosef was a goodly person, and well favored. And it came to pass after these things, that his Adonai's woman cast her eyes upon Yosef, and she said, Lie with me. But he refused, and said unto the woman of his Adonai, Behold, my Adonai knows what is with me in the house, and he has committed all that he has to my hand. There is none greater in this house than I. Neither has he kept back anything from me but you, because you are his woman. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against Elohim? And it came to pass, as she spoke to Yosef day by day, that he hearkened not unto her, to lie by her, or to be with her. And it came to pass about this time, that Yosef went into the house to do his business, and there was none of the men of the house there within. And she caught him by his garment, saying, Lie with me. And he left his garment in her hand, and fled, and got him out. And it came to pass, when she saw that he had left his garment in her hand, and was fled forth, that she called unto the men of her house, and spoke unto them, saying, See, he has brought an Ivri unto us to mock us. He came in unto me to lie with me, and I cried with a loud voice. And it came to pass, when he heard that I lifted up my voice, and cried, that he left his garment with me, and fled, and got him out. And she laid up his garment by her until his Adonai came home. And she spoke unto him according to these words, saying, The Ivri's servant, which you have brought unto us, came in unto me to mock me. And it came to pass, as I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me, and fled out. And it came to pass, when his Adonai heard the words of his woman, which she spoke unto him, saying, After this manner did your servant to me, that his wrath was kindled. And Joseph's Adonai took him, and put him into the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound, and he was there in the prison. But Yahuwah was with Yosef, and showed him mercy, and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners that were in the prison. And whatsoever they did there, he was the doer of it. The keeper of the prison looked not to anything that was under his hand, because Yahuwah was with him, and that which he did, Yahuwah made it to prosper. Chapter 40. And it came to pass after these things, that the butler of the king of Mitzrayim and his baker had offended their Adonai, the king of Mitzrayim. And Pharaoh was angry against two of his officers, against the chief of the butlers, and against the chief of the bakers. And he put them in the ward in the house of the captain of the guard, into the prison, the place where Joseph was bound. And the captain of the guard charged Joseph with them, and he served them, and they continued a season in ward. And they dreamed a dream, both of them, each man his dream in one night, each man according to the interpretation of his dream. The butler and the baker of the king of Mitzrayim, which were bound in the prison. And Joseph came in unto them in the morning, and looked upon them, and behold, they were sad. And he asked Pharaoh's officers that were with him in the ward of his Adonai's house, saying, Wherefore look you so sadly today? And they said unto him, We have dreamed a dream, and there is no interpreter of it. And Joseph said unto them, Do not interpretations belong to Elohim? Tell me them, I pray. And the chief butler told his dream to Joseph, and said to him, In my dream, behold, a vine was before me, and in the vine were 3 branches, and it was as though it budded, and her blossoms shot forth, and the clusters thereof brought forth ripe grapes. And Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes, and pressed them into Pharaoh's cup, and I gave the cup into Pharaoh's hand. And Joseph said unto him, This is the interpretation of it. The 3 branches are 3 days. Yet within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up your head, and restore you unto your place, and you shall deliver Pharaoh's cup into his hand, after the former manner, when you were his butler. But think on me when it shall be well with you, and show kindness, I pray you, unto me, and make mention of me unto Pharaoh, and bring me out of this house. For indeed I was stolen away out of the land of the Ephraim, and here also have I done nothing that they should put me into the dungeon. When the chief baker saw that the interpretation was good, he said unto Elioseph, I also was in my dream, and behold, I had 3 white baskets on my head, and in the uppermost basket there was of all manner of baked meats for Pharaoh, and the birds did eat them out of the basket upon my head. And Joseph answered and said, This is the interpretation thereof. The 3 baskets are 3 days. Yet within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up your head from off you, and shall hang you on a tree, and the birds shall eat your flesh from off you. And it came to pass the 3rd day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, that he made a feast unto all his servants, and he lifted up the head of the chief butler and of the chief baker among his servants. And he restored the chief butler unto his butlership again, and he gave the cup into Pharaoh's hand. But he hanged the chief baker, as Joseph had interpreted to them. Yet did not the chief butler remember Joseph, but forgot him. Chapter 41. And it came to pass at the end of 2 full years that Pharaoh dreamed, and behold, he stood by the river. And behold, there came up out of the river 7 well-favored kine and fat-fleshed, and they fed in a meadow. And behold, 7 other kine came up after them out of the river, ill-favored and lean-fleshed, and stood by the other kine upon the brink of the river. And the ill-favored and lean-fleshed kine did eat up the 7 well-favored and fat kine. So Pharaoh awoke, and he slept and dreamed. And he slept and dreamed the second time. And behold, 7 ears of grain came up upon one stalk, rank and good. And behold, 7 thin ears, and blasted with their east wind, sprung up after them. And the 7 thin ears devoured the 7 rank and full ears. And Pharaoh awoke, and behold, it was a dream. And it came to pass in the morning that his ruach was troubled. And he sent and called for all the magicians of Mitzrayim, and all the wise men thereof. And Pharaoh told them his dream, but there was none that could interpret them unto Pharaoh. Then spoke the chief butler unto Pharaoh, saying, I do remember my faults this day. Pharaoh was angry with his servants, and put me in ward in the captain of the guard's house, both me and the chief baker. And we dreamed a dream in one night, I and he. We dreamed each man according to the interpretation of his dream. And there was there with us a young man, an Ivri, servant to the captain of the guard. And we told him, and he interpreted to us our dreams. To each man according to his dream he did interpret. And it came to pass, as he interpreted to us, so it was. Me he restored unto my office, and him he hanged. Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeon. And he shaved himself, and changed his raiment, and came in unto Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said unto Elioseph, I have dreamed a dream, and there is none that can interpret it. And I have heard say of you, that you can understand a dream to interpret it. And Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, It is not in me. Elohim shall give Pharaoh an answer of peace. And Pharaoh said unto Elioseph, In my dream, behold, I stood upon the bank of the river, and behold, there came up out of the river 7 kine, fat-fleshed and well-favored. And they fed in a meadow. And behold, 7 other kine came up after them, poor and very ill-favored, and lean-fleshed, such as I never saw in all the land of Mitzrayim for badness. And the lean and the ill-favored kine did eat up the first 7 fat kine. And when they had eaten them up, it could not be known that they had eaten them. But they were still ill-favored, as at the beginning. So I awoke, and I saw in my dream, and behold, 7 ears came up in one stalk, full and good. And behold, 7 ears withered, thin, and blasted with the east wind, sprung up after them. And the thin ears devoured the 7 good ears. And I told this unto the magicians, but there was none that could declare it to me. And Joseph said unto Pharaoh, The dream of Pharaoh is one. Elohim has showed Pharaoh what he is about to do. The 7 good kine are 7 years, and the 7 good ears are 7 years. The dream is one. And the 7 thin and ill-favored kine that came up after them are 7 years. And the 7 empty ears, blasted with the east wind, shall be 7 years of famine. This is the thing which I have spoken unto Pharaoh. What Elohim is about to do, he shows unto Pharaoh. Behold, there come 7 years of great plenty throughout all the land of Mitzrayim. And there shall arise after them 7 years of famine, and all the plenty shall be forgotten in the land of Mitzrayim, and the famine shall consume the land. And the plenty shall not be known in the land by reason of that famine following, for it shall be very grievous. And for that the dream was doubled unto Pharaoh twice. It is because the thing is established by Elohim, and Elohim will shortly bring it to pass. Now, therefore, let Pharaoh look out a man discreet and wise, and set him over the land of Mitzrayim. Let Pharaoh do this, and let him appoint officers over the land, and take up the 5th part of the land of Mitzrayim in the 7 plenteous years. And let them gather all the food of those good years that come, and lay up grain under the hand of Pharaoh, and let them guard food in the cities. And that food shall be for store to the land against the 7 years of famine, which shall be in the land of Mitzrayim, that the land perishes not through the famine. And the thing was good in the eyes of Pharaoh, and in the eyes of all his servants. And Pharaoh said unto his servants, Can we find such a one as this, a man in whom the Ruach Elohim is? And Pharaoh said unto Elioseph, For as much as Elohim has showed you all this, there is none so discreet and wise as you are. You shall be over my house, and according to your word shall all my people be ruled. Only in the throne will I be greater than you. And Pharaoh said unto Elioseph, See, I have set you over all the land of Mitzrayim. And Pharaoh took off his ring from his hand, and put it upon Joseph's hand, and arrayed him in vestures of fine linen, and put a gold chain about his neck. And he made him to ride in the 2nd chariot which he had. And they cried before him, Bow the knee. And he made him ruler over all the land of Mitzrayim. And Pharaoh said unto Elioseph, I am Pharaoh, and without you shall no man lift up his hand or his foot in all the land of Mitzrayim. And Pharaoh called Joseph's name Sophanath Panich, and he gave him to be his woman Asenath, the daughter of Potipharah, priest of On. And Joseph went out over all the land of Mitzrayim. And Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, king of Mitzrayim. And Joseph went out from the presence of Pharaoh, and went throughout all the land of Mitzrayim. And in the 7 plenteous years the earth brought forth by handfuls. And he gathered up all the food of the 7 years which were in the land of Mitzrayim, and laid up the food in the cities. The food of the field, which was round about every city, laid he up in the same. And Joseph gathered grain as the sand of the sea, very much, until he left numbering, for it was without number. And unto Joseph was born 2 sons before the years of famine came, which Asenath, the daughter of Potipharah, priest of On, bore unto him. And Joseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh. For Elohim, said he, has made me forget all my toil and all my father's house. And the name of the second he called Ephraim. For Elohim has caused me to be fruitful in the land of my affliction. And the 7 years of plenteousness that was in the land of Mitzrayim were ended. And the 7 years of famine began to come, according as Joseph had said. And the famine was in all lands. But in the land of Mitzrayim there was bread. And when all the land of Mitzrayim was famished, the people cried to Pharaoh for bread. And Pharaoh said unto all the Mitzrayim, Go unto Elioseph, what he says to you, do. And the famine was over all the face of the earth. And Joseph opened all the storehouses, and sold unto the Mitzrayim. And the famine waxed sore in the land of Mitzrayim. And all countries came into Mitzrayim to Elioseph for to buy grain, because that the famine was so sore in all lands. The end of chapter 41. We go to Psalms, Tehilliym, chapter 11. To the chief musician, a mizmor of David. In Yahuwah put I my trust. How say you to my soul, flee as a bird to your mountain? For lo, the wicked bend their bow, they make ready their arrow upon the string, that they may privily shoot at the Yashari in heart. If the foundations be destroyed, what can the righteous do? Yahuwah is in his holy temple. Yahuwah's throne is in heaven. His eyes behold, his eyelids try, the children of men. Yahuwah tries the righteous, but the wicked and him that loves violence his soul hates. Upon the wicked he shall rain snares, fire and brimstone, and a horrible tempest. This shall be the portion of their cup. For the righteous Yahuwah loves righteousness. His countenance beholds the upright. Hallelujah. Praise the Most High Yah. Thank you for watching. May this be a blessing to you. We'll continue tomorrow, Yah willing. Thank you so much. Shalom.